Good afternoon. The June 7th meeting of the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust will be in order, and the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 17th meeting.
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. Or questions, comments? Voting, please. Minutes are approved. Next item is a consent docket.
Move approval subject to individual consideration. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. It's very long today. Are there any questions or comments or any comments from staff on any of the items?
Sure, just a couple of things. I want to draw your attention to item T on the consent docket, which is a joint resolution with the Environmental Assistance Trust to purchase what we call automatic vehicle location systems for both water and wastewater and solid waste utilities. We continue to work on vehicle location improvements, and with the goal of following some additional work in electronics that will take us at least another year, that we'll have a way to have people on our phones be able to tell where we've been and where we're working kind of automatically using this tool. So it is something we expect to grow in the future, but for right now it's actions to just maintain things.
Any other comments or questions on the consent docket? Hearing none, voting please. Consent docket is approved. Next item is the concurrence docket.
Move approval subject to individual consideration. Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the concurrence docket. Are there matters to be discussed separately? Staff or the trust? Hearing none, voting please. Consent docket's approved. Or the concurrence docket. Next, item 5, items for individual consideration. The first is a presentation of the budget.
Mr. Chairman, trustees, Brett Weingart is going to describe the Water Trust budget for fiscal year 17.
Good afternoon, Chairman and trustees. The Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust budget actually is a composite of the water and wastewater utilities portion of the city budget, the McGee Creek Authority budget, and the LARA budget, Lake Atoka Reservation Associations, all rolled up into this budget. In the budget, we'll outline the service targets we strive to meet each year, the strategic measures from Leading for Results, our sources of funds and uses of funds, budget highlights, and capital improvement plans. On the service targets, our goal is to maintain almost 4,000 miles of water pipe and 3,000 miles of wastewater pipe based upon what we add to the system and what developers contribute to the system each year. It's growing about 3% per year. Serve about 212,875 water customers and over 200,000 sewer customers, which are growing over 1.5% per year. And we're in our financial plan budgeting for an average year on water sales, but that water sales number can go up about 10% from where that number is right there. And if so, then the additional revenues we earn will help pay for the utility to pay for the electricity and chemicals. We answer about almost 500,000 calls per day, which is 1,700 calls per day, of which about 1% are for new service, about 40,000 new customers each year. A safe and qualified workforce is necessary for us to efficiently provide service to the public. Our injury rate is currently 9.2. The industry average for the Bureau of Labor Statistics is 5.9%. Our goal is to get to 5.9% and then go to an injury-free workplace over the long run. We currently have a study underway. Later this week, we'll be visiting, all of our management teams will be visiting with the consultant to identify new strategies that we can go after to further reduce that injury rate. We continue to have employees very interested in upward mobility in our organization, given the fact that about half of our management teams could retire soon. It's important for us to continue that. Those people are already committed to the organization and to serving the public, and that's a great source for us. We are in the process of phase 2 of the cost of service study. If you recall, we had phase 1 a few years back. The last fee adjustment that's approved in the ordinance is for October of 16. We'll be receiving the preliminary findings this fall and be bringing that forward to you thereafter on what adjustments are appropriate to consider to begin funding the capital plan for the funding of the Atoka pipeline, the second Atoka pipeline. And as you'll note, that our Leading for Results measure has changed from maintain our AAA Standard & Poor's and AA Moody's rating to now a AAA Moody's rating, now that we've received AAA upgrade in Moody's. From service reliability, our goal is to have 70% of the water line maintenance work orders completed within 72 hours. Some of our leaks can wait a little while rather than spending extra money because they're just small leaks, and some of them have to be addressed much more quickly, and that's why that's the 70% number. 80% wastewater work orders completed in 72 hours is also a goal. Our goal in the organization to have 100% regulatory compliant for our treatment plants. Over the last year, we've created a compliance inventory of all of the compliance items in water, wastewater, and solid waste, and we're going through that and assigning specific individuals to make sure that all of our compliance requirements are met. For environmental stewardship, on council today, one of our council members talked about the opening of the new Xeriscape demonstration garden at Bluff Creek. We now have 4 of those at various parts of the city and are working with OSU and our staff to program educational opportunities throughout the year based upon the seasonal planning schedules and things, so that our customers can learn how to install water conserving plants, mulch, the types of irrigation systems that are appropriate to help them best conserve water. Our sources of funds, $240 million of our $386 million in sources comes from service charges. Debt construction funds, $134 million. What it doesn't show on the graph, but is revealed as you go forward with the uses, is that we also have $82.9 million of PAYGO in our funding plan. Many years ago, when we adopted fee adjustments, we went to a net assets basis for assigning debt repayment when we had 51% of our assets were water and 49% were wastewater. And that number has migrated quite a bit to many more assets are water, and since so much of our outside city sales is on water, that's going to pay benefits moving forward. Water charges now make up 60.5% of our service charges, and wastewater is 39.5%, and that change will continue to follow and track the assets as they change, as we invest in the Atoka pipeline and other improvements. This is the first year in this coming year that we will have the $1,000 system development charge in place also for 9 months, as you'll see that in the numbers there. On the uses side, although we routinely adopt the aqua budget each spring, staff is constantly adjusting the cash flows and bringing to those to you monthly based upon seasonal variations from weather conditions, water sales, and recommendations from our engineering firms that we hire to do design work and bring forth to us options for consideration. And we anticipate that will continue to change, and when it does, we'll bring those to you for consideration. Highlights of what we call the aqua operations budget are the general items that are not CIP. In that number, you'll see one of the main things, the pilot, that's the 2% payment to the city, and then the lease extension is a 1% to the city. What's not detailed that's in the other category is we also make payments to the village and the War Acres, a 2% pilot also. ACOG fees, the city will pay a part of the city budget for audit each year. Trustee bank services to pay the people that own our bonds each year, pay fees, ODEQ permits for operation of the water wastewater facilities, the LARA budget, USGS fees for flow monitoring, as well as the items that are shown there, the trust engineer, line maintenance emergency contracts, bad debt payment, and kiosk bill payment services. The staff budget highlights. The main things that we're proposing to change are, and fund differently, we want to take 6 utility worker 1 overage positions that have been put in the budget for us to basically accelerate hiring to keep staffing full and dedicate those positions to a valve and hydrant program so that we can have better operable valves over the long run, so there's less likelihood that shutouts during a main break will be for a larger area, so our customers would have less outages. And when they do have one, it's in a smaller area. The next item is that under construction right now is a Draper sludge facility. Because of the volume of sludge we now produce, because of the water production at Draper, we need to put in a sludge facility, and it will have to be staffed with people, and we're proposing adding 2 positions and funding the electricity and chemicals and parts of the supplies. The startup for that is scheduled sometime in summer, fall of 2017, and we need to get those positions filled and onboarded and trained to be able to do that. For capital improvement program, this is the new auxiliary pump station inside and outside at Draper. That's intended to be able to allow us to produce or pump much more water from Draper to the downtown area and northwest through the new transmission mains that we've constructed. If you look at this color map, you'll see that the green and blue dots are water improvements, and the red and orange dots are wastewater improvements that are planned. And in FY 2016 are the green and red, and in FY 2017 are the blue and orange for the capital plan that Sam Simandi oversees as our engineering manager. So you can see by that graphic that there's many activities occurring right now and planned to start very soon. A review of some of the FY 2016 CIP accomplishments. Water main replacements, transmission main extensions that we've completed, the far western area expansions of 48 and 36-inch lines, booster station upgrades to several of our key booster stations so we can produce or push the water even further west as demand increases in the summer, treatment plant improvements, and we've started engineering by hiring the firms to do the engineering for the Atoka pipeline. On the wastewater side, sewer rehabilitation, sewer relief mains, and treatment plant improvements are underway. Largely 36-inch, 42-inch, and 48-inch mid-urban sanitary sewer relief mains, and Morgan Road to Mustang Road work being done. FY17 highlights what we plan to do with the funds for the coming year. Main replacements, about $4.5 million, pretty typical amount. Transmission mains, we'll start progress towards what we call the interconnection of the 2 systems. The Draper system and the Hefner system will become interconnected so that we will have the ability to use either plant to serve the entire city largely over time as we continue to grow the system. We're also needing to do a Hefner electrical loop so we have more reliable electrical service at Hefner. We're also going to be looking at Draper low lift so we can get more water out of the lake into the water plant in low water periods. We have to do Atoka surge control improvements of about $32 million. Atoka pipeline land acquisition and environmental work will also begin for the second Atoka pipeline. We'll be designing replacement of balancing tanks and a new Atoka spillway. You saw pictures of that recently where we had damage to the Atoka spillway due to the flooding that occurred down there, and so we'll be working on the design for that. This picture is a picture of before. You saw earlier in the beginning CIP slide of the pump station at Draper. This is what it looked like when it was under construction. On the wastewater side, we'll be looking, of course, at sewer rehabilitations, as always, lift station improvements, a number of relief mains in the North Canadian Basin to finish out a consent order that we were under. We'll be evaluating wastewater treatment plants and wet weather flow management activities, so engineering will be busy on those studies. And we'll be looking at some conveyor improvements and such at North Canadian Wastewater Treatment Plant. If you look at the CIP, as I discussed earlier, the CIP is becoming more and more heavily weighted to water, largely associated with the Atoka pipeline improvement, and that will remain that way for the next 5 years as we complete that project. At the end of this time, we anticipate somewhere around 75 to 80% of the total assets for Aquit will be water assets. And with that, we'd open it up to any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Next item is a motion, we need a motion to approve the budget.
So moved.
Motion and a second to approve the budget. For discussion? Comments from anyone, citizens, anybody? Voting, please. Budget's approved. Next is request for proposals for revenue bond underwriter.
Mr. Chairman, we last selected underwriters 3 years ago. It is time to do that again. We don't have renewals available to us, so staff is requesting your authorization to issue proposals to seek those firms. As always, we're looking for a book running senior manager type approach, and we're looking for a competitive process.
Who performed these services the last go-around?
We had Merrill Lynch, Bank of America, and a number of local firms were involved in the syndicate.
Okay. Thank you. Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the RFP. Voting, please. RFP is approved. Next item is a contract for financial advisor services with Public Financial Management.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the amended contract for financial advisor services. Are comments, questions? Hearing none, voting, please. Item C is approved. Next item is amended and restated contract with Bank First for corporate trust services.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Contracts approved. Item 6, item from trustees. Comments from any of the trustees? Hearing none, general manager's reports.
Mr. Chairman, just the monthly pro forma and status report. Very quickly, water income is down about $2.4 million, or 1.7%. We attribute that to a really wet year. Very commonly, it's just a very common variation. It's a substantial amount of money at $2.4 million. The wastewater income is exactly on target, and expenses are down about $500,000. So, and I think it's been a wet year, but not a flood year that would normally cause a lot of excess wastewater treatment. Happy to answer questions.
Other questions? No questions. Citizens to be heard. Are there any citizens who wish to speak? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.